I would like it to go possibly is that David wasn't actually shot. I know a lot of times they'll have in like different video games or anime where it looks like one thing, but the character does come back. Because Adam did ask him, did he want to, they could make him an interesting construct, which he declined it, but that would be cool maybe if David was turned into something similar maybe to Adam Smasher.
Like, I don't think it was so much that he asked them and it was a decline of it. I feel like it was more or less like he made a proclamation, like he made a statement. Was more like you would prove to be like would and could are two very different words. And they were
Right.
very very particular about the way that they framed things throughout the entire show. The foreshadowing ran from the very jump, like with his mom, and when she said, in the first episode, all the way to when what was it? Was it JK, the dude that was making the brain dance simulators?
Yeah.
He did the brain dance on David, and that right there, like his hallucination was foreshadowing even for what was to come at the very end.
That kind of makes sense, yeah.
So I'm like, when I hear him say like you could prove to be an interesting construct, I'm thinking, like you said, like yeah, possibly they could do with him what they did with Adam Smasher. And Adam Smasher, without even knowing about David, said the same thing that David had been saying the entire show, is that he's special. So I'm like, that right there, that does something for me. And outside of the show, with all the lore that followed Adam Smasher, but for him to still be alive all the way in 2077, I don't see why they couldn't keep David alive, especially if they hadn't like damaged his brain. I know he was, pretty much slung off to the other side as a cyber psycho, but like,
Right.
I don't know. Hold up. Question: do y'all think he went psycho?
Think David went psycho?
Yeah.
I don't think he did.
At the end? I mean, technically.
I don't think he did.
Wait a minute.
Me neither. Not fully.
Like
No. He didn't turn on his people.
he was holding his mind.
Yeah, he had all the way to the end. His last conversation with Smasher, and he was like, "I don't understand anything you saying. I don't even care about that." I'm like, he really did. And the threat was, after you pop this last vial, you're going to go slingshotting to the other side. Like,
Right.
whatever's left of you is like you ain't gonna be able to reconcile that. After he got his ass laid in the ground, he was definitely talking straight. So I'm like, I feel like he had enough left there to, like, to build off of, or at least to make another boogeyman.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like they may make some DLC where they add David into the game. Like, I know they have David's outfit in the game, but they may add him to the game.
That'd be crazy.
There's a drink named after him too in the game, and he hates fizzy drinks.
Yeah. That fizzy thing was something that I noticed a lot between like different shows produced by either Dynamite or Trigger. Like Fooly Fooly was one. My wife had mentioned that because I don't think Naota liked fizzy drinks. And then Abenobashi Magical Shopping Arcade, that was another one. He didn't like fizzy drinks. Or he did like fizzy drinks. What was it? It was something with fizzy drinks. And at first I was thinking it was like a trope maybe, just kind of like in and like anime and like Far East like cinema, but I don't know. I'm thinking maybe it was a trigger specific thing.
Yeah, it probably could be. They trying to think like what's some other things that Trigger has that's like in common, like even like shrewd characters I was thinking about before, like Faraday. Just the way he operates and moves, it just reminds me of like just other real snarky type villains that they've had before, like the villain from Promare, Kill la Kill, Gurren Lagann. It seems to be something that they continue to do throughout.
Yeah.
He reminded me of like the Faraday. Did you do with the multiple eyes?
Yeah.
His snarkiness. I'm trying to think of the character.
Is it Frieza?
Kinda. With the snarkiness.
Nah,
And he-
Lex Luthor.
that's the character.
Him
Lex.
or the guy from Breaking Bad?
Well, it was the guy with Gus Fring.
Yeah, Gus.
Yeah, the guy that was voicing him is the guy that played Gus Fring.
Oh wow, okay. I was wondering about his speech pattern and mannerism. I said, okay, that makes sense now. Gotcha.
Yo, so like something, I got a theory. Right? Around episode 6, Girl on Fire, right? I think with Faraday that he was trying to get Maine to go over the edge, right? Reason I think that is because when David and Lucy were with Tanaka trying to do the deep dive, and my neighbor's blowing his yard. Give me a second.
He's mowing his yard at night.
Blowing it, doing something. When he was talking with Faraday on the phone, and he was like, he said Kiwi's, like indisposed of at the moment, and he was like, damn, Falco talked, like he must have known at that point from Falco that Maine was losing his stuff, like he was slipping over the edge, and he still insisted that he go on this mission. And you know that a cyber psycho ain't gonna be able to keep their stuff together in order to like get any of it done, but he was still like cool with like, hey, just go ahead and do it, Like I feel like he was trying to push him over the edge. I don't know, I could be wrong, but just looking at how greasy he was later on, I don't think he had any reservations about it.
Well, he certainly didn't care about his well-being, like you said. Like they messed up the whole thing with Tanaka, him switching sites. He just didn't care about anything. I mean, he just was looking out for himself straight up to the end. He played his own game by his own rules.
He died in his own rules too.
Yeah, that too.
Someone who died by their own rules. Goddamn, Kiwi. Like,
oh yeah.
I felt for her though, bro. I
really no weaknesses though. She only cared about herself.
I don't know, because like I felt where she was coming from, especially after the episode 6 when she got her shit rocked. Like when she got punched, I'm like I could see her having a flashback in that moment when she was getting pummeled to an inch of her life, just thinking, you can't trust nobody in this city.
Bro, I've lived in Night City playing the video game. You can't trust nobody.
That bad.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
It is that bad. There's gangs everywhere. There's different factions. Like, this is a Japanese gang. And then you got these, because, Arasaka people, it's bad. Even the police, they ain't shit.
Damn. So it's like Los Angeles police?
I would like to know more about Militech, though. It's like,
I dealt with them in the game, too.
So, like,
the military,
are they as bad as though?
Let me put it this way. They don't care about nothing else but the mission they're on. If the civilians in the way, they will run over them.
This is bad.
That is horrifying. Well, that's the way they treated the mom, though. They called them, just meat bags or something like that?
Leaving for the meat wagon.
Meat wagon, see? That's horrible.
They don't look, man. They don't care about nobody in the game, man. No one. That's why I chose Nomad. They're an actual family. They actually care about each other. They live on the outskirts of the city. They care about each other. People in the city ain't shit.
So do nomads, do they upgrade themselves as well, like Edgerunners?
Yeah, they do. So basically, with nomads, like we will steal from Arasaka and we'll steal from Militech and shit like that. Like we're the rebels. Like we care about people.
Come on, trauma finds us here, we're dead.
Well, people closest to us.
Okay, I'm
I'm about to say, do y'all hurt? I know y'all got probably hurting other people.
No, we don't kill like civilians and stuff like that. I've only in the game. I only killed civilians after I beat the game. I just started running around shooting people in the face. But before that, I only killed Militech and Arasaka people and other gangs.
See, I don't know, man. I felt like
bro. So there's a thing called brain dances. So you take the memories of someone else, you put a chip in your brain to see their memory. Where it's like goggle you put on, and you get to see their memories. So that's how I used to do. Like for some missions to find out what happened, I would relive their memories. I would like a feedback
thing.
And it's really cool. Like the game. I wish they went more in depth in the anime because there's so much more in the game than in the anime. Like they didn't do brain dance. Well, they did the brain dance where you got to see that. They did that brain dance, but it was more detailed in the game where you can rewind it, you can go infrared, and you can cut out certain sounds so you can hear people talk.
I felt like it just wasn't like you didn't have somebody who like did brain dance like they didn't tamper with that kind of stuff on their team per se. Like the JK dude, he did, and he would peddle the the brain dances like in the black market type of deal, like to the Ripper Doc. And we would see we saw David live out Morris's last moments, and then we got to see him go into a brain dance where he was himself more or less, but he was actually in somebody else's footsteps, like the massacre one. He was like watching you he was like living out your last moments. He's like it's one hell of a rush, ain't it? What premium high, I think that's what he called it, premium high, and I'm like, that's dope. Now I would do some mess like that. It would probably terrify me, but I would do that mess. So it's cool that I was able to see that because I didn't know that was in the game. I had no idea that it was in the game.
Yeah,
that's pretty neat. I felt bad for
in the game. There's a character. I wish they would have had this character in the anime, like brought him up because he's so popular. He's like an underground. So he's a rock star, but he also is a revolutionary. His name is John. Yeah, Silverhand.
Yeah.
And bro, Johnny Silverhand did not fucking play.
Yeah.
He took the fight to Arasaka. He got a group of his. He got a squad and took the fight to them.
See.
And that's how he died.
He was a solo on it.
No, he didn't go by himself.
No, I meant like his
like solo?
Yeah, he was a solo.
Yeah, he was.
Okay.
That's something. You know something though? Like thinking about that brain dance simulator, it brought me into another theory, right?
Mm-hmm.
If David never got caught by JK and put into that simulator, I doubt he ever would have gone psycho.
I think it messed up his mind a little bit.
Right at the beginning. You talking about?
Yeah, I think it messed up his mind a little bit.
Cause like he hallucinated that stuff clean until he like actually snapped. Like when he killed the that woman in the laboratory that had a son about his age. When he killed her, he was hallucinating the stuff that he had saw happening to himself in that brain dance, like producing gun arms and stuff. Like they were oozing guns and stuff out of their faces and heads. So I'm like, he saw.
He didn't want to kill him.
But he was tripping, like seeing that stuff that he had saw with JK. I felt like if he had, considering the stuff that he had gone through and had already seen, that being the thing that kept like triggering him, like when he was slipping, like seeing that, I'm like, I feel if he had never seen that, if he had never gone through that instance, he would have been fine. Because I feel like when he was inside of that simulator, when they had to like pull him out, I think that was like he had to when he used his Sandevistan in the simulator, he was actually firing up in that seat. That's what I believe. And I don't know how many times while he was in that seat that he had, what's the word? Like I don't know how many times he had lived that dream while he was in that chair.
I think it was like in reality, maybe like a couple of minutes.
Right.
But in his mind, it could have been years. Could have been months.
Exactly. Because he was the same afterwards,
Oh no, he was fucked up after that.
Mm-hmm. But
Lucy could see it.
Now he was about his shit though, because you remember the second that he was out that chair, you would think that he would have been down for a minute. But he was right back on his feet and shooting at the drone. So I'm like you said, it could have been like damn near, a couple of years of him running through that in his head and, using the Sandevistan like in the simulator. Because after that point, he did something that was trippy. And I don't know if anyone really caught that shit. The motherfucker moved. I'm sorry. I need to watch my phrasing. This Choom fired up his Sandevistan and was fast enough to escape an explosion. Not only that, remove Maine's arm before getting caught in it. And you had already saw that Maine and both of his appendages were in the line of explosion. So I'm like, bruh, how fast did he split?
Oh, he was like the Flash right there.
I say he was faster. I'm like, I feel like that should have been beyond the tolerance of what he was able to even put out, and that's without extra, like he wasn't buff. He didn't have any supportive cyberware.
Right.
He went on the like top grade medics. I feel like going through his simulator, he experienced this. He experienced some grip of stuff in a short amount of time, and had some extra experience on top of it. After
else would have overheated.
Right. They would have burnt out. Like I remember in the first episode, because I didn't know what had happened with Morris when he had escaped like that little gravity thing that the Mad Tech would use, or Max Tech. I don't know what like I think they had like a form of that gravity machine, but he dodged it. He fired up the Sandy. He dodged it, but then you saw it work on him. Like the Sandy had burnt him out, so he had like leaned back. He was fried. He forced himself back over, to a fighting stance. But that ain't happened to David.
He was good,
right? So I'm like, bro, if he had never got caught by JK, and I felt like that was the right there. Like I feel like we saw him first have his first psychotic moment after JK died. He had caught the needle to the neck, and I feel like he was already dead when David thought he saw him laugh. I think he is already dead right there.
So he's already hallucinating.
I feel like he was already starting to slip. Right there. Right there. But won't no going back, Won't no going back.
Oh no, David couldn't go back. His life was changed way before that.
When he shot that lady, he was done.
I felt like also his reluctance to get away from that cannon arm also fed into him losing his stuff. Like going psycho even more.
You mean wanting to be like Maine?
Not even wanting to be like Maine. Like I remember Ripper Doc mentioning that it shouldn't fit in his arm. He made it fit, like he doctored that thing up right so he could make it fit. And then he called it like a fossil. He was like, I can get you some new tech out back, And he was like, nah, I'm good with this. And I felt like just kind of like a compatibility thing. Yeah. Like it's more stress than it's worth. It's kind of like driving an old school muscle car. Yeah, it might feel stronger, but you can find a whole bunch of newer vehicles that are more sleek, more aerodynamic, that take a easier grade of fuel that'll probably get you from 0 to 60 quicker. You know?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
What do you say?
I said, yeah, I agree.
And I felt like it was probably one of those instances, but because of his sentimental, connection to Maine in that arm, I felt like he was like, nah, I'm gonna hold on to it. And it just helped to degrade him quicker.
And that was his downfall. He in that line of work, you can't have sympathy.
Yeah. Yeah. They had said that too. Like
Yeah.
when
David was never built for that life.
Yeah.
He really was.
Yeah. I can't argue that. Though I feel like him and Maine were cut from a similar cloth.
They were, but Maine was different. He didn't have sympathy.
He did though.
He did.
I felt like
he
if
was in the military before.
he
So
wouldn't have killed
He knew how to control his emotions better.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. I felt like if Maine was in better control of his emotions, whatever it was, because like we got to see Maine one time before he had bulked up, right? And that was when he was having, I think he was having a psychotic episode, but they were showing him running through the desert, and he was super skinny, and I'm like right there. I felt like he was afraid to ever go back there, going back to that size. I don't know, like if you ever like got sick, dropped weight or something like that, you don't feel quite yourself. I've been there before, but like you feel like a weaker, more fragile version of you, And I feel like depending on exactly what his life was like before he became what we found him as, I feel like when he had been told that he needed to go back down, he needed to like reduce his load, and he was like, "Not gonna do it, no way. I'm not running away. Can't run back. Can't run away now." And I'm like, your reluctance, it's tied to something else, bro. I don't know why you don't. Why you can tell that you ain't okay, but you can't back off of your perceived power. You feel me? And it's like if this is the foreshadowing thing about the show, when Faraday first pops up and had music drop and stuff like that, he was standing outside, they was partying, right? And Maine went to go talk to Faraday. One, the way that the angles were shot, it was so that Faraday was more or less looking down on Maine. And then when David asked him, like, who was that? Like, I thought that you was the big guy out here. I thought you was the one that called the shots. He was like, no, you get shit done out here in Night City without his eddies. Like you need eddies. And if you ain't got that, you nobody. I'm just a dude that knows how to get stuff done, So it's like I felt like kind of what David was experiencing, like that ceiling, like I can't go anywhere past this. I can't be anything more than what I am right now. I feel like that's what man was, and his reluctance to let go of like his cyberware is like, if I let go of this, then I really am nothing. Yeah, like I'm nobody. I'm nothing important. I'm nothing worth living in Night City without this. Yeah, and you see what was out there. Like Steve mentioned when David and his mom were in the car, and then you had those goons ride up and start shooting through her windshield at a Arasaka vehicle.
Yeah, they didn't give a shit, but they were right there. They just said, "Fuck it." They just shoot through them. That's what he thought. That's what they said. Shoot through them.
Yeah, they weren't even paying no attention to him. Like they didn't even give a fuck. They would go ahead, shoot through the window, like hit our mark. I don't care what's in the way, And that's the reality of anybody that's out in Night City. If you don't have something to back you up, because if they had pulled up on Maine's car trying to shoot through it, they would have got blown up. Cannon arm cleaning to the side of their vehicle, and everybody would have fallen out behind them. But you just got.
Let me tell you how bad Night City is. So in the game, there's a mission. I bought a brain dance to watch this brain dance, but it fried my brain. Basically, it put me to sleep. The guy took me and sold my body to these rippers. I woke up in a bathroom naked. Then I had to fight my way out, kill them without having guns. I had to kill somebody, take their gun, and try to get out of there without getting killed.
Oh my goodness!
So I gotta get this game. I gotta get this game. This sounds like it's
bro. They literally they take your implant. Like if you got like special implant stuff, they would take it out your body and try to put it in themselves.
Oh no,
Mm,
that's scary.
mm, I think we saw that happening to somebody in Cyberpunk. I don't know if y'all
They
remember.
did
It's
in
like
one of the
when David was
missions.
finally starting to get on real good with the team. It was that scene where everyone put up a thumbs up, you know, and it was these dudes with like TV static faces, and they were operating on somebody on the table. Looked like they was pulling some cyberware about their back, you know. And they came in and like they cleaned everybody out. Boy, Pilar was still alive then. Actually, yeah, Pilar was still alive. I think he threw some stun grenades into the room
You did.
and like flashed them, and they all fell down. But yeah, like that's some scary mess. When you talk about feeling like I've heard of this. I'm sorry. Like I get real in my emotions thinking about it. You know that this stuff happens in real life.
Yeah.
This stuff,
Yeah, it's kind of scary. Yeah, think about it to a degree. Yeah, that is
like
reality.
right, like to see that happen in Cyberpunk, and then to think like I could go off. Like I just came back from vacation in Puerto Rico. You know, imagine I go to Puerto Rico thinking I'm having a good time. I'm eating at a restaurant. I black out, and then I wake up and my liver gone. You
Oh
know, I'm
gosh.
stitched up.
Yeah, that shit happens.
Bruh, bruh, that's scary. That's scary. Somebody that sold you off to a ripper. Man, you got to try and like stay alive long enough. They don't care to sew you back up. You know, like, ain't no need to.
Or
Uh,
medication proper, like to deal with the pain or any of that. Like, you just
right. You just wake up with a hole in you and a piece of you missing. Pain ain't whatever pain meds they had to like keep you sedated, wearing off quickly. You know, all the pain starting to set in. Oh boy. Oh.
that's the worst.
Oh. Matter of fact, that's what Maine said he was gonna do to Dave.
To Dave when he first met him, he did.
Mm-hmm.
No one like everyone grimy. Even the main characters, they grimy. David wasn't grimy.
Maine won't grind me for that. As far as he knew, I'm always stand for my dude Maine. He was my favorite character. But like he was like, hold up, first off, the Sandy, I paid for that. That's my Sandy. You know, you over here running around clapping stuff that don't belong to you. I need to teach you a lesson. You know? Like, and if he really was as bad as he, you know, like could have been, he would have been like, oh damn, you Gloria's boy. That's a shame. You know, I like Gloria, and still like knocked him out.
We'll kill him. Oh damn,
Because
I like Gloria, but I'm still gonna kill your ass.
they tried to they tried to drag Gloria. You know, he was like, nah, like y'all gonna keep your mouth off of Gloria. She wanted us. She's just looking for some honest money. You know, I'm like, my man,
He came
my
through
man.
for him too when they were fighting the Tiger Claw gang.
Yeah, man, stayed coming through, bro. He stayed through. David would have been dead a handful of times if it weren't for Bane. Actually, he saved David's life when the first Cyber Psycho tried to attack them because he shot this Cyber.
You still there?
I think he got sent to the Matrix. But yeah, he was right. Like when the first, like man, like I said, Maine just came through just time and time again. But like for one, we didn't see David didn't have a dad, so I don't know what the situation was going on with that. He watched his mom struggle, and I think like I said, once he started dealing with Maine, and then the money started coming through, and then they welcomed him into the group. He started feeling like he was part of a family, and Maine was also telling him about like upgrading yourself. So I think that had like a huge effect on the road that David went on afterwards. Um, he's a really tragic character. There's like a multiple tragic characters in this one, but I kind of like that because it gives you some of that, I guess, realism that you kind of expect from like real life. I think that's a lot of times why people enjoy reading stories involving like Batman and Gotham and all of that because anything is liable to happen and the stories are just more realistic. That and also Injustice. So,
You said it was similar to Injustice?
as far as just the bleakness, just the window is always open for anything to happen. Like I didn't expect David to, die the way he did, or just any of the characters for that matter.
He died brutally.
Yeah, it was a lot. Is Dexter cutting out? I think he's trying to talk, but he's cutting out. I think sometimes to fix that, Dex, if you leave and actually come right back in, it should actually fix it if you're trying to speak. Yeah, I think he's trying to talk. Okay,
He left.
Coming back.
He'll come back.
Yeah, that'll fix it. That's sometimes something that happens with Discord.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear it now. There you go. It works. Cool.
Gotcha. Okay. Shucks, I forget. Done. Anyway, y'all go ahead. What'd you say?
I was just talking about how May's impression was on David, and how that may have steered or had a hand in steering him, and just the decisions that he made. He was talking about like constantly upgrading yourself, just being organic, like isn't enough. But I think
I feel like man gave him that blueprint, but I feel like he stuck with that for completely different reasons, and he made his mind on that like earlier on.
Right.
Like when he was talking with Lucy, Lucy said, Lucy agreed to take Kiwi's place, right?
Right.
Something that was a pivotal moment because in that moment, David decided to go against what he wanted most in that, which would be to tell Lucy, nah, we're gonna go ahead and stay out of this one. Like things ain't quite leveling out. But she was like, I need you to tell me that I can do this, and he did, And I felt like at that point he had decided that he was gonna live. Like him chasing upgrades, I felt was more or less like a means to his ends.
Gotcha. I can see that.
Like that's how I saw it. Because I know he figured he was never going to leave Night City. Like he didn't really have anything. He didn't have anything past that. Like he had no education. He then left school. Like the only thing he had to live for was Lucy, and Lucy was starting to get really cold on him. He didn't know why, but she won't the same as what she used to be, And we had saw like at that one point where he was like, we should just break. And she was like, that's not what I want. I'm going to just talk to you when I get home. If they could have just made it home. Because I really want to stay with you.
You kind of see what she meant when she said they were actually different, like they're not the same.
But no, the thing is, though, that they are the same.
Right.
God damn it. They are the same. They're the exact same person. They're the exact same person. Like, I ain't gonna say they're the same person. They had the exact same, like they had the same outlook,
The same
but
ideals, to a degree.
yeah, like she wanted for nothing but for David to have a life that he deserved because he was a good dude. He was always there for his friends. He always would throw himself first, and she mentioned that she was like, that's the type of dude that you are. You don't have to know them. You're going to do your best to try and save them. And even when we saw David later on, like after the time jump, we got to see that the type of gigs that he took when he fought the one dude that was able to keep up with the Sandevistan before. He was helping a girl that had been kidnapped, So I'm like, the type of work that he was doing was even, like it reflected who he was as a person.
He was a good guy. Like he did, like for all intents and purposes, it was honest work amongst like Night City.
For all of his money, everything that like he was saving his ducats. Like that's the thing though. Like past him buying cyberware for himself, like for his upgrades, he was saving money. Right? He was saving money because all of what went to Lucy and Falco at the end was his money.
Right.
So it's like, what was it when Lucy was like, "Put your clothes on, like let's ride." They went out the city, and he was like, "I never out of Night City. And he was like, you had a life outside of here, right? It was clear in that moment, bro. It was clear in that moment. She was like, there's a reason why I'm fighting these people and killing these other net runners to keep them away from David. Because I lived in an Arasaka facility. I know what they would do to him, you know? And after she found out through Tanaka's like his brain, like in the data that she had collected, she was like, I know what they want David for. I've seen it. Heavy foreshadowing was like, nah, like I can't have that, you know. So like they had the exact same goal, keeping the other one alive, you know. I feel like she believed that, I guess eventually they would make it out, you know. But I feel David was like, realistically, we're not making it out. Not both of us. One of us can leave, you know. Like one of us has to have a destination outside of Night City, which is something that he didn't have. He didn't know a life outside of that. So for him, it was like, I'm going to live and die here, but I'm going to send you to the moon, you know? Like, for whatever that's worth, I'm going to send you to the moon. Like,
It just seemed like Arasaka was going to get their hands on David, or they were going to have a bad run-in anyway, no matter what. Even if he played, like, say, for instance, even if they had the money and David was able to attend school, no problem. Maybe somebody eventually would have caught wind of his durability, and who knows where he would have ended up, but I don't think it would have been anywhere good.
he was always in proximity to it. I doubt, however, that it would have been on the same level. You know, like, because him putting the Sandevistan in was what caught their attention. You know, it was a military grade implant. Like, unless he was involved in the military at some point, I doubt he ever would have, you know, would have adorned something so powerful and would have known that his proclivity towards cyberware was so high. Yeah. You know, I feel like though he would have been screwed either way, like Arasaka was his destiny. You know, like it was definitely his destiny.
Oh yeah, they was gonna take him.
You talk about speaking of destiny. I got a question.
What?
I got a question that's been bothering me. I have not found an answer. I have watched this series about 5-6 times now. I have not found an answer to this. One of you give it to me, okay? Before David even really starts getting heavy cyberware, right? Everybody has some level of cyberware. Like that's a given. Like there's something in the palm of their hand, and they got the little the chips, the little chip slots for you to put your info in. That's the basic cyberware that they have. What was David's connection with Lucy that he could sense her wherever she was?
Well, I know there's some upgrades that you can use so you can communicate telepathically also.
But that's not what that was, though. Like, I say before David really... Like I said, before he even really got any like new or up to date cyberware, he had like his little goggle headset thing, but he was sensing like down his spine and in his head Lucy. Like he'd have a feeling,
like some kind of sixth sense connection.
Their connection started when they did that brain dance together on the moon.
Before then, even though. You remember when he was going off to school, right? Like
he sensed her. This girl, like he just didn't even know who she was yet.
Right, like you saw her hair do like that little ice cream drip thing, and then he went looking over there, but he didn't see nobody. And then, instance, after he had already put the Sandy in, when he had got on the train, he felt her. He felt her. Then he made a comment. He said, "Oh, you just be a petty thief, you know?" And she was like, "Do I know you?" What was that?
Okay, yeah. I'm gonna watch that part again. They had a connection without even knowing each other.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. I actually remember that now.
Like he watches her on OnlyFans or something. Like I'm trying to think.
What if? And this is a big what if. Because of David's, proclivities to like the cyberware and shit like that. what if he used to be in an Arasaka facility when he was younger, and they knew each other when they were little kids, but he doesn't.
That
You
would
know
be
something that
wild.
wouldn't.
Who was David's dad?
Right. They never showed, never talked about it.
I got reason to believe. After you said that, I got reason to believe that his mom stole him. One, we know that she would come across different like cyberware and things like that in her job, and had to negotiate them on the black market. You know, and she weren't afraid. Like, she was really good at getting things out of wherever it was that she worked for. Because if you remember, the Sandevistan that she had took was highly sought after. It's not something that's very common,
Right.
and it was on a high profile. It was on a high profile cyber psycho.
Yeah.
What is it? General. What was his name?
You mean the guy in the beginning?
Yeah, I can't remember what his name was, but he was a military dude. So I'm like, and they had called the big dogs in to put him down. She still ended up with his Sandevistan.
She could have stolen David, like you said, but then she felt something for him and started to raise him instead of just selling him.
Right. You know, because like maybe she didn't, because she looked young. So I'm like, I don't think necessarily that she had like even had a man that like got her pregnant and just left. Like, I didn't hear them ever mention a dude. I never saw any pictures of anyone outside of just her and him. So I'm like, he very well, like, that's a theory, you guys. He very well could have been stolen. That's trippy.
Kid, we got him.
Yeah.
That's trippy.
Come on.
I mean, with enough fan demand and people wanting it, they may make a season 2.
I got something else, right? So, like, off of that same theory, right? I would say that he wasn't an Arasaka. I would say he wasn't Arasaka. I would say if anything, he was probably Militex.
They probably got a facility too.
I wouldn't put it past them, but I would say he would probably be a Militech, like, experiment. Reason I say that is because even though Arasaka had, like, they know he put the Sandevistan in and things like that. They had plans to introduce him to the cyber skeleton, but they didn't have any prior record of him outside of the fact that he was just a student at the school, Yeah. So if there was somebody or a project that had been worked on where one of their kids had been taken, I think they probably would have been able to, like, piece him back to it. Maybe I might be looking too much into that, but I feel like they probably would have caught it. Probably would have been a little bit more adamant about getting him back, or messy about it.
I'm just also just trying to think about, just from Lucy's standpoint, if she can even be happy as a person. Like, she lost everybody. I guess you got to move on.
Was she ever happy as a person?
I don't think she was, man. I mean, look at her childhood.
No, she won't never happy.
She
don't know what happiness is until she met David. He showed her happiness.
I was gonna say she ain't know what it was until she met that man. Yo,
she fell in love with that motherfucker.
We appreciate that they knew how to write women well in that show. Can we appreciate that? Because, like, a lot recently, and a lot of the shows and things that I watch, they just don't do female characters justice. They'll either try and write them a little too Mary Sue, or they'll write them in a way where it's like they're just very unrelatable.
Right.
Like, I would say Rebecca was she was very masculine, right? But I never doubted her character.
No, like, she's a girl. You can still see that she's a girl, even though she was very strong-willed.
Right. Like, they knew how to. I'm just. It's been so.
Soft at the same time.
It's like, I don't understand. Like, it's because, one thing, Japanese wrote this. In American writing today, the way they portray women is going by the society today, and it's not even all women. They're going by that Twitter crowd of women, which is
Probably weird.
they're all fucking weird. So the way they write women, they try to write them as if they're men when they're not. Like I watched Rings of Power. They wrote the Galadriel, wasn't it? I can't really. She an elf, high elf bitch. The way they wrote her as if she was a dude, not a girl. She had no softness to her.
See, yeah. It's like because I think about even their hardest chick, right? Because you would think it's Rebecca, but Rebecca wasn't their hardest chick. Dario, even in Dario, I love the way that they wrote her character, like, and especially her and Main's relationship, right? Like I say, out of all of the women, Dario was my absolute favorite. He was a down chick, you know, and I respect that mess. Like she wrote it out with Maine all the way to the end. She didn't have to do that, you know. She shouldn't have done it, but she did, you know. Mm-hmm. And I just wish that Maine would listen to her, bro. He did not listen to her.
No, I wish he listened to her too. He was like, yo.
She was the only one that could tell him anything, but he didn't listen to her. You know, like when she had told him when Max Tech was coming to get them, and she was like, "Maine, your medicine." He was like, "I popped one just before we came in here." You know, he should have shot one right then. He would have put it through the fight at least. You know, but he didn't. He didn't.
Nope. And then eventually, David had to start taking the medicine.
Yeah, I mean, it was on her rather than her being able to take care of herself in that fight, you know, and watch his back by shooting. He was watching his back by trying to get his mind back into the fight, you know. Exactly. Like otherwise, she would have been killed by him. So she's leaping around, and bruh, she dodged bullets. Okay,
big as she is, she was bro,
she punched a punching bag clean up off the ground. You know, I'm like, I don't know if like she had cyborg upper body. You know, I think she was just a big ass chick, but she like uppercuts a punching bag off the ground after David thought he was doing something. You know, she can jump out of the way of a speeding bullet, and did it a handful of times in that altercation with Maine. You know, and I wanted to go ahead and clear this up because I heard some things online. Maine did not shoot Dario.
No, he did not. No. She was jumping in the way of the bullet.
She was long, like his gun was past her head when you saw the bullet, like pierce her skull.
Right.
Because that's what broke his glasses. Was the bullet going through her? Damn, bro. The bullet went through her head and hit his glasses and broke.
Mm-hmm.
She saved his life, bro. Saved his life.
People were saying he shot her. People were saying he shot her.
Yeah. People that didn't watch it.
It's clear as day that he didn't shoot her. I never even thought that.
Yeah, some people they missed that, but I'm like, he ain't shoot her, bro. He felt like crap because he didn't know what had happened after he came through. Like that iconic line, "This my fault. This was my fault, bro."
Yeah, he snapped. And the thing is, like you said, David went back in all of that. Because Lucy was like, don't. But the thing is, like you said, David's that much of a friend, like Steve was mentioned earlier. He went all the way back in that hell, did not knowing what he was going to run into.
Oh, he knew what he was running into.
Well, he didn't know it was going to look like that, though, probably.
Oh,
David he saw Maine as like a big brother.
Yeah.
And he wanted to save him.
Say big brother and father figure run a similar role, man. Like a similar line, you know? Yeah. Like he definitely gave guidance to him that he didn't have, you know, with just his mom there.
He didn't have a male figure in his life. And he worked.
Like that hurt.
And what he said
run. He said you're fast, ain't it? That's what you do best.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, no.
He knew that's when you knew I'm about to die. Get out of here.
Yeah. See, and that right there, that shows exactly how much control Maine had, even in losing his stuff. Because he was going, bro. that gave me a different outlook on cyber psychosis though.
Yeah.
Like watching him maneuver through that. Because one, when David popped up, and this was after Dario was gone, he had just enough of that to keep him on the right side of Saint, right? And when Dario, I mean, honestly, nah, he was already he had been as broken at this point. I guess he had just kind of like reached his window of clarity. But when David came into the room, he shot at him, but he shot just enough to the side that it just grazed his cheek and made him bleed, you know. But like,
Shows he was on the edge, like you said, of being just like bare and like just straight up raw beast, and still holding on to his like his humanity. Like he was right there on the teeter totting on the edge, and he slipped into, like you said, a new state of madness because he was already in the cyber psycho madness. You saw what happened to Dario, you know, gained himself for a moment, and then he, like you said, he slipped into something even darker.
it's like he was there and gone at like both at the same time,
Right.
and I didn't even see David do this one. Like when he was looking at Dario and he had her piled up, like in one frame of his mind on a pile of sticks. In his conscious frame of mind, he understood that was a whole bunch of explosives,
Right.
you know. And even when, and like the part that broke my heart is when he went and slapped David, but he was so soft, you know. It's like he knew he was gone, bro. He was like, "Nah, this the end. This the end of the line for me, bro." He was like, "You got to get out of here, though. You still got some stuff that you need to do." He was like, "But this is it for me, bro." My heart broke. I was like, I had a different love and respect for cyber psychos at that point. I said they ain't all equal, but yeah, between that,
He hadn't really gone full cycle yet.
you said you don't think he went full psycho?
No, full cycle was with that dude that was in the alleyway. That was full psycho.
I felt like the dude in the alleyway. It's like, and I was saying like this is where I felt like there's like a spectrum to the psychosis.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say that, like I'm going to mention a handful of people that were cyber psychos, right? When we first saw Norris go cyber psycho, first cyber psycho that they showed, he was gutting the cops. Like he was going after them with a purpose, right? When we moved to the second dude, the dude peeing in the alleyway, I feel like he was just someone that completely slingshot. Like I don't know what was up with his lower body with like the you know, like he looked like he was on some stuff. I don't know what equipment that dude had in him, but he seemed like he was way past like any form of human being left there. You know, we watched David like slipping into his madness. Of course, he was special, but that also brings me to Adam Smasher. And though he was a Borg at this point, he's a cyborg. I still feel like he's a cyber psycho, but in a different way. Like psychosis playing in a different way. Like you've got people who could experience some like crappy circumstances in their life, right? It turns you into a sociopath. Like you weren't loved or picked up or held or told that someone loved you, so you don't have those emotions or know how to even really share them or experience it properly, you know. So then you have someone who's a psychopath who functions very well but has these tendencies about them, you know, and they're not always killing folks. They don't like every psychopath ain't a murderer, you know. But when we look at Adam Smasher, the dude was a psychopath long before he had ever became part of Saka's you know, attack dog.
Oh yeah, like in the game, Johnny Silver and them, they knew about him before he became all, you know, like that. Before he became that kind of person.
Because he was a fucking big deal, bro.
It was Adam Smasher who was actually on with what's her name? It's a girl that's in Johnny's group, and they were on a team together, her and Adam had it was Adam's fault on the mission
that they failed, that Johnny got killed and shit. Because he had turned he turned on them and went with Arasaka. And so the whole basically Johnny wants revenge. So in the video game, that's what happens. So you play a character named V. You could be either a male or a female because you got to create them. So what happens is you do this mission, and you went to go get this. It's a new thing where it can imprint someone's memories and personality onto you. But it was corrupted, and it can start taking over, and they become you, and your mind is wiped out. Basically, you're gone.
That's crazy.
So basically, in the game, you have two personalities. You got Johnny and you got V's. So you can see Johnny talking to you. No one else can see him, but he's there talking to you, and he's literally there. That's not a hallucination. He's there, but no one else can see him because he's in your mind. And so the game is you're trying to find a way to get him out your head because it's killing you.
Oh man!
Because he's taking over. So by the end of the game, you either let Johnny take you over, or you get him out your mind.
That's trippy.
So the whole game is basically every choice you make depends on the ending of the game. So your choices matter. You can become friends with Johnny, or you can hate him the whole time he's in your head. I became friends with him.
I was gonna say, knowing what I know of Johnny, I would probably be his friend, just because I know where he started. Johnny,
he's slimy. He is grimy and slimy as a motherfucker.
You gotta do what you gotta do in Night City.
I know, but he is an asshole.
You gotta do what you gotta do, man. You gotta do what you gotta do.
But you can choose to be an asshole. See, my first playthrough, I chose to be kind of, a good guy. So certain things I would do, Johnny would be like, it'd be easier if you just shoot him in the head, right?
Damn, Johnny.
Johnny would tell me that. I would have that option to do shit like that. But I'm like, you know what? No, I'm not gonna kill him.
I mean, if you're dealing with the megacorps and stuff like that, you might as well.
Oh, not stuff like that. Other things, like someone trying to get information from. I'm like, damn, Johnny.
Just do it. Just shoot him.
You just kill him, man. Just shoot him in the face. I don't like Johnny's like, I don't trust him. Trust me. I've been through shit like this, and sometimes I should have trusted Johnny. Like when I ended up getting kidnapped, Johnny was like, I told you, bitch. He said, I told you not to trust them.
So I did have a question. So there are levels to the Sandefistan in the game? Like, are there different grades of it?
They added, I think that wasn't in the game until the anime.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah, that was made in the anime, and they added it to the game. And I never got it.
I think there's supposed to be different grades to this.
Basically, so you go to Ripper Docs in the game, but you gotta make money because the implants cost some shit of money. And you can get implanted, you can get a blade implanted into your arm and shit like that, and have a blade come out and cut people up. Or you can make yourself faster with the Sandy. But I never did that. I never got implants and shit like that. I was like a standard. I stayed kind of standard with my implants. Like I had the standard shit, the phone calls came through my head, and you can see them as they're talking to you and shit like that. That's basically what I had. I ain't have all the other shit.
Kind of like David in the beginning.
Yeah, basically I was like David in the beginning of the whole game. I didn't get the implants and shit like that. But I mean, I did get my lungs taken out and got stronger lungs so I can run faster and shit, run longer.
Like David did.
Yeah, I did stuff like that.
See, I was hoping to see Black Hand. That's what I was hoping to see, Morgan Blackhand. I was hoping to see him. I went and did so much research into the lore, and I was like, man, if I watch this back, I was like, maybe I'll see him, because that was supposed to be Adam Smasher's arch nemesis. But of course, they didn't have him, which led me to ask myself a whole bunch of unnecessary questions, theorize a whole bunch of stuff that can't possibly happen, like David being his son.
Morgan Blackhand, that's just a guy that was mostly organic, was he not?
Mm-hmm. Kind of following what Steve was saying, I don't need all those extra upgrades. See, I know if I was in that world, Steve would probably be like a Morgan Blackhand, Johnny Silver. He'd probably be one of those. Me, I'd end up like Adam. I'd end up like Adam Smasher. I
Wait,
know
you
I
said
would.
Steven would be like the general?
No, I said he would probably be like Morgan Blackhand. Like
Morgan
I'm not
Blackhand,
going.
yeah, yeah.
I'm not
You're
going
going all
out.
natural and still fighting against RSR.
Mm-hmm. I feel
Oh,
like
I
he
didn't,
probably.
hey, so Dex, I didn't know that. I didn't know Cyberpunk was a video game from the 90s.
Now that I
Okay,
didn't
not
know.
video game, board game, board
It was
game.
a board game.
So yeah, so
So
like
this thing is based off a fucking board game.
I might end up with it this weekend when you come over. So like we might end up doing a little campaign. I think it might be something like D&D. Not entirely sure. I'm gonna get it though. But yeah, it's a
Oh,
goddamn game.
but that's
what
so cool. Like it's so much more to it than I thought.
Yes, it goes deep. It goes deep.
I thought they created it, but no. I guess they did what they did with The Witcher. They took some original IP and then added to it.
Bruh. Like I couldn't resist myself. Like once I watched Cyberpunk, I was pissed because it was over and I was hurting and I was like, let me go ahead and get the video game. But then I was like, okay, which video game? And I was like, well, there's only one video game. I'm like, but I'm seeing so many of these like board games. And then the reference material that I was pulling from was guidebooks from those games. So it's like the entire story, like it's all in there. So I definitely want to go and get it, if anything, so I can read the books. Even if I play by myself, and I think I might
Bro,
be.
that's so sweet. So the story actually begins in 1988. Like it was a book, I think, at
Yes.
first.
Wow.
Yeah,
that goes
Steve,
all the way
hold
to the
on,
future.
hold on. Before, if you go all the way back, right? Because it damn near is like if our world was dystopian, or our world took a couple of different turns and it ends up like that. And bro, they got instances of things happening all the way from 89 on up to 2000. Like, huh?
So Cyberpunk was influenced by Blade Runner.
Yes.
Okay.
Blade Runner,
Blade Runner is one of my favorite
RoboCop,
movies.
Blade Runner, RoboCop, and there's another one.
Neuromancer. I know about that one. I have never seen it.
All of that went in there. So it's like, yes, it's goddamn good, Like, and this got to be another conversation. This got to be another.
Now we got to do the history of Cyberpunk.
I'm down, man. Like, cause when we did the clowns for the character design challenge.
Yes.
I decided to do make my clown from the Bozo gang, right? Because they didn't show up until the 2020s, where we are now.
I thought you made that up.
Nope, that's from the lore.
I didn't know that.
I'm a sucker for it,
This is
man.
blowing my fucking mind. I was like, holy shit.
No, that's canon. That's canon, boy. That's key.
Have you?
Like-
all right, question for both of y'all. Have you ever seen Altered Carbon?
I've watched
Yes.
some of it. Yeah.
That's what this felt like.
Yes. So I read the book. I'm now that I'm seeing Cyberpunk and this, I'm thinking that Altered Carbon was influenced by Cyberpunk.
Probably was.
At this point,
I feel like Cyberpunk does it better, but I feel like it's hard to articulate it. It's hard to articulate that book because it's such a big world. And that's why I appreciate what Cyberpunk 2077 did. Because it took decades of gaming material, and it took this and put us into a world that had already been built but had described it so well. You get me? Like, I didn't have to play all of the board games. I didn't have to play the video game. Y'all delivered the world to me so well in 10 episodes that I had, like, me and you've been having a conversation on damn near equal footing, even though I done went back and read so much of the source material and reference books. You feel me? And I'm like, the only way that's possible is if they did their job right. And
They did such a good job that you found out that this shit is way more than we thought it was.
yeah, I want to delve deeper into it, man. Like Cyberpunk really, catapulted to my top 5, and I think it'll
It's
stay
definitely
there.
top 5.
Yeah, it'll stay.
Did you know it was a black man that designed the game?
Yes,
Yeah,
Came
I
up
saw
with
that.
it?
Yep.
yes,
Yep.
yes. Made me even hyper about it. Man,
He read the book when he was younger.
I'm excited about it, man. I want to get into this. I want to get in. I want to learn more. I want to play more, participate more with it. But yeah, this has been a fun discussion, man. This has been a
Yeah.
really
Oh yeah, I
fun
definitely
discussion.
thoroughly enjoyed it.
Because I listen to audiobooks when I'm working sometimes. I'm about to see if they got this book on Audible.
Dude, I feel like we owe it to ourselves for honorable mention. You know, PLR, you were a real one. We appreciate you and your golden hands. You died the way that you behaved, a complete idiot. Rebecca, you ain't deserved to go like that.
She didn't. She really didn't. That crushed me at the end.
No,
It ain't crushed you like it crushed
everyone died brutally.
He said it crushed him. It ain't crushed you. It ain't crushed you like it crushed her.
Crushed her.
Her rib cage was out. There ain't nobody deserved to die like that, man.
And definitely they said R.I.P. Dario.
R.I.P. Dario. R.I.P. Maine.
R.I.P. Bane. Yes, definitely. It was a grown man. Definitely was a hero.
You know, the one person I didn't think would survive is the one who survived to the end.
Who?
Falco. He was nobody.
What you mean
was-
he ain't know it was nobody? Falco
No.
was actually he held the team down.
Until episode 7, he was no one. He showed up at the very end and was like, "Yep, part of the team. I've been here since the beginning, guys." It's like, no, you was just a background character before. You was not part of. You won't do nothing. He ain't have no drivers.
He got active when he needed to be.
No, he joined up on the team after everyone had died. But I'm like, I never expected him to be the one to survive. But he was definitely there when Mank beat Kiwi's ass.
Right.
Though he hadn't been introduced. But that's why I'm like surprised that he, of all people, was still alive at the end. I thought for sure he would have been dead.
He lost the arm, did he not?
I believe so.
Yeah, I think Adam Smasher took his arm.
No, his arm was already gone. He only had one arm.
Oh, he had a mechanical arm.
He destroyed
Yeah,
it
he
or
had-
something.
He had a mechanical arm. He was driving with both of them.
Bro, did I ever tell you? I've told you this before, like the stories that I had in my head that I was working on. And one of them was called Cyberpunk. I mean, not Cyberpunk. It was called Cybernetic.
Cybernetic. I think I remember that.
Yeah. So basically, it's in a future like how Cyberpunk is, but your character is a detective.
Didn't he do something
That'd be
where
dope.
Detroit becomes human or something?
Yeah, I
like
played. Oh no, so that's not Cyberpunk. That's just androids. Like you don't have any implants on your body. But I beat that game, and it's really good. You play an android. You play 3 different androids, and get their perspective. It's all one story, but happening at different times, at different places, and they all come together at the end. And all your choices matter as well in that game. Like that. So basically, it's an android revolution in that game. Basically, they treat androids like slaves, and the androids are starting to have sentient minds where they're starting to think for themselves.
Ergo proxy.
Right.
Basically, yeah, that's what's happening. It's starting to, and then you find out that the creator, he put that back door in them on purpose.
Ergo proxy.
Because you go to your maker's house, the guy that created them and that sells them to all these companies, and everybody can just buy them. And he was like, yeah. You basically found out like I put that back door in them because they deserve to live.
I need somebody like to make a story that like blends like Evangelion, Ergo Proxy, Edward Scissorhand. I don't know, Gantz, something else. That'd probably be trippy. Cause that's
I don't know why you
because
put
you get those
Edward
vibes like
Scissorhands-
the Final Fantasy 9 vibes too, when they had like the fake genome humans.
I don't know why you put Edward Scissorhand in there.
That's like Frankenstein.
I mean,
He gonna-
it's still like a fake human. It's like homunculus.
Was he a fake human?
He was.
have
He
to
was
watch
built.
that again, 'cause
Remember, he
last
was
time
having
I
those
saw that, I was a
flashbacks in his
kid.
dream.
You said what?
I gotta watch that again because I forgot how he made him.
Yeah, the old man made him. He didn't make him hands though. He died before he gave him hands. He
Yeah.
killed him by mistake.
No, he did. He died before he could make him proper hands. But my thing is, right? What on earth were you doing? Why? Why did you make this man in this creepy attic of this far off mansion?
Because it's Tim Burton, man. Tim Burton is weird as fuck.
He's a mad
When he
scientist.
making cookies up there, like I remember, like a cookie machine or something like that.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I'm trying to think of what he was doing up there that he required Edward to ever have scissor hands, and only scissor hands to begin with, because he made those first. He could have made normal hands, human hands. He could have did that while he was making the rest of them, but he didn't. He made
And
them.
that's the plot hole to Edward Scissorhands.
Ooh, bro! What if there was a anime or a movie came out for Edward Scissorhands, but he was living up to his purpose? Because, like I said, he was definitely made to be a weapon,
Yes, he was damn sure a weapon.
bruh. Like Edward Scissorhands with a tune-up, so he ain't walking all funny. He like falling.
And what is he doing again?
They should.
I don't know, man. Like I don't know what he was made for. That's what I'm trying to figure out. What was he made for? Was he made?
I think he was based. So what Tim Burton was doing was making a Pinocchio type movie.
Yeah, but
He wanted a son.
But past that, Geppetto of Edward Scissorhands, he never made regular hands for Edward. He made scythe hands for that man. It was like, you're perfect as you are. That's it right there. Just don't touch your face. Why did he make him like that? What was his intent? What was he doing? I need to watch it over again. I need to know what his original, what was his purpose? Why was he there?